Welcome to the As Yet Untitled podcast.
With your hosts, Tony and Shaun.
Howdy, people of Earth. And, I guess, not to leave anyone out, anyone not from Earth.
We don't discriminate here.
Welcome to 2021. Or if you listen to this after 2021, welcome to whatever year you're in. Hopefully it's an improvement from this year and last year.
I mean, what are we? We're less than 2 weeks in it to 2021 and it's not going great. So.
No, there's already been an attempted coup of America and obviously UK sucks and we're all still in lockdown. Fun times.
Wonderful.
Anyway, let's be more positive.
Let's be more positive. This is a good podcast.
Oh yeah. So if you haven't listened to our podcast before, it's just me, Shaun, and
Me, Tony.
yeah, chatting about things, telling you some trivia, giving you opinions that you don't need, really.
And doing a semi-okay job at it.
Yeah, and it's a great way of, I mean, at least the way I think about it, it's a great way of finding films and games and stuff and just recommendations for if you're bored. And I imagine a lot of you are bored because you're probably locked down the same as we are.
Yeah.
So we have Season 1, which is all on our YouTube, which you can go find links on our social medias and stuff at the As Yet Untitled podcast. And Season 2, which was all of last year.
Not all of last year, which was the first half of it was recorded last year.
Yeah, we have 5 episodes out so far, which was out last year, and we're going to do 5 more this year. So this is the second part of Season 2.
Yeah.
So hopefully you stick with us. This episode, we're going to talk about buddy comedy films.
Yeah, so by a buddy comedy, from at least what my understanding is, there are at least 2 people who are friends who go on some sort of adventure.
Yeah, and they're comedic.
Yeah, and it will, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you got
Hence, comedy.
more than one main protagonist working together in some way to do the plot.
To do the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just have a little side note. There are like loads of superhero movies and like traditional Disney movies that kind of fall under this bracket, but we're going to try and save those for possible future episodes because, well, we kind of want to give other buddy comedies a chance to shine.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of them.
Definitely.
So we're going to have a lot to talk about. We might go over the usual hour and a half today, but
We're now down to recording only 1 a month so that we can allow for this little bit of leeway with our timing.
Exactly. So, shall we kick it straight off? Shall we go?
Yes.
Do it. Let's do this.
I'm going to let you start because you usually have a lot more to say than me.
I can't help it. I've seen too many films. Alright, I'll kick us off. So, first one on my list, Role Models.
Oh, yeah.
Came out in 2008, directed by David Wayne, starring Sean William Scott and Paul Rudd. So they're the buddies in this buddy comedy.
Yep.
But it also kind of has a relation to 2 other people to make it like a 4-way buddy comedy. And that's 2 kids, Christopher Mintz-Plasse and, I probably screwed up his name there, and Bobby J. Thompson. It also features Elizabeth Banks, Jane Lynch, Ken Jeong, and a bunch of other great comedy actors, which is why it's a brilliant film.
Yeah.
So basically it's about Danny and Wheeler, who, Paul Rudd and Sean William Scott, who are in their 30s and they kind of are stuck and don't know what they're doing with their life. One of them has just driven away his girlfriend, Paul Rudd, and Wheeler's just kind of looking for sex all the time. And they end up getting into a fight with a tow truck driver, and instead of going to jail, they then choose to go to do community service. And they're essentially assigned to be big brothers,
Yeah.
right? To kids that kind of need friends, sort of thing.
It's actually a common thing in America to have the Big Brother scheme.
Yeah.
So that they can have, as what this film is about, of having a responsible role model to look up to be like, oh, this is...
Yeah, especially the kids that don't have, like,
from.
a dad or something.
Yeah.
So Danny has Augie, I don't know how to pronounce his name properly, who is, and that's Paul Rudd and Christopher Mintz-Plasse. So that's those 2. They're their like buddy connection, and he plays a geek who loves to do LARPing. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's like live action role play. You run around in swords and stuff. And then Wheeler is friends with Ronnie, who is just a little kid who's just thinks he's a little gangster and he swears all the time. And I mean, it starts off going really badly, and the two like adults don't really know what the hell they're doing, and they just want to try and get through it. And then it ends up basically going on this journey where they end up kind of becoming actual friends and actually helping these kids, and the kids end up actually helping them as well. And I think it's a cool take on a buddy film because it's not just between the two adults; it's also their connection with the two kids as well.
Yeah.
It's got loads of really like over the top comedic scenes in it, like where towards the end, spoiler, they all do LARPing when they're dressed as Kiss.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's just hilarious. And they there's a monster truck in it, there's swearing kids, loads of good redemption arcs, loads of like nerdy film references and like music references such as the Kiss references that are all the way through it. It's a brilliant film. I only have a little bit of trivia to say about this. So on one days of filming, Paul Rudd peed his pants because he was laughing so hard at one of the improvised lines. Yeah, and there was loads of improvised lines in this film, especially from the kids, which is what makes it great. And the diner that Paul Rudd's character visits in the movie is the exact same diner used in Pulp Fiction in the final scene. Yeah. I think that's all I have to say about it because we've got quite a few to go through. But it's just a really good film. I definitely recommend it. It's a feel-good film.
Nice.
What you got for us?
So I'm going to go for one that was big in my childhood, which is It Takes Two.
Okay, which came out before you was born.
It came out before I was born, but me and my mum used to watch it all the time.
Okay.
So, came out in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
And it's starring Mary-Kate and Ashley.
Ugh.
Yeah. And Kirstie Alley and Steve Guttenberg.
Gutenberg. Yeah.
Close enough. So, what it's about, it's just like, I say a modern take on it. It was modern at the time.
Yeah.
Of a modern take on Mark Twain's book, The Prince and the Pauper.
Yeah.
So what it is one of them's a rich girl and the other one is a poor girl, she's an orphan, but they are identical and don't know each other at all.
Yeah.
Until both of them end up going to camp. They both are very close to the camp. So the rich girl lives in the mansion that looks over this camp.
Like a summer camp?
Like a summer camp.
Okay.
And the orphan is going to the camp for, just a summer camp things. And then when they're both running away, they come across each other and they're like, okay, we're going to swap roles for the day because why wouldn't you? They both want to have the experience of each other.
Yeah, they want to have each other's experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically their entire plot is to stop the rich girl's father from marrying an evil woman.
Okay.
There's literally, it's just, and the orphan wants to get adopted, but doesn't want to get sent to a family called the Butt Kissers, who literally just adopt children for slave labor to work on their scrapyard.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and also, spoilers for how it is at the end. The rich girl ends up being adopted because they thought that she was the orphan. So then she ends up working at a scrapyard. And she's like, I'm actually Alyssa Calloway, which is a really famous guy. This guy is rich. He is known for being the rich guy.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm Alyssa Calloway, and you guys need to let me go because I'm not supposed to be here. And this family's just like, no, we adopted you, so you're ours now. And then they end up getting away, and they end up stopping her dad from getting married, so it works out okay.
Okay.
One thing I thought was interesting about this is basically every character had multiple people they were thinking of having as playing the part. Just can't think of some of the names where it was. I can't remember what some of the names were because the list was so extensive that you couldn't actually I couldn't remember any of the names. So one was that the rich girl has a butler, and he was going to be played by John Candy.
Okay, that would have been cool.
Yeah, it would have been great, but they couldn't have him because he unfortunately passed away before they had
They started
filming.
Yeah.
So he basically was agreed to it, but then, yeah, just couldn't. Although people also considered to play the butler, Danny DeVito, Patrick Stewart,
Joe Pesci,
Joe Pesci, Christopher Walken,
Gene Wilder. They're literally any funny person they could think of at the time.
Jack Nicholson.
John Cleese.
And for the role of the father, so it was like Rick Moranis.
That would have been awesome.
Tim Allen, Pierce Brosnan,
Steve Martin,
Mel Gibson, Tom Hanks,
John Travolta. What?
Chevy Chase.
Literally, freaking Bill Murray. This was literally everyone.
Literally, they was just like, who would be good at playing this role? And then just put everyone down. And for the woman who looks
Who
after
did
the
play
orphan,
the role?
that was Steve Guttenberg.
Okay.
And then for Kirstie Alley's role, so she plays the woman at the adoption agency or at the orphanage. The kind of people that they had for it, so like they wanted Winona Ryder, but
That would have been cool.
but they thought that she was too young for the role at the time. So Sandra Bullock,
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Sigourney Weaver, Madonna.
Wow.
So yeah, literally, they was just like, who would we like to play as this? And then just went for anyone who agreed to do it.
Yeah.
But they had, quite the list of people. They were like, yeah, I'd love to have these people play. So I just thought that was quite interesting that they got it down to just these people. Oh, and also for the main girls, instead of having twins, they was going to have, I can't think of her name, from Matilda.
Oh, okay. What, and her playing both the roles?
Yeah, they was going to have her playing both the roles, kind of like, like Lindsay Lohan in Parent Trap kind of thing. But instead they got Mary Kay and Ashley because they are twins. And it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Isn't that their most, famous film?
No.
I don't think I have actually watched any films of theirs.
They have quite a few films, but they were, not great.
Yeah. That's why I've not watched this
So
one.
I think this one, it was, one of the first things they were in because
Yeah.
it was quite a while ago and it was very young.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right.
It Takes Two.
My next one is a lot more modern than that. My one came out in 2016, and it's one of the funniest films ever. It really is. So this is Hunt for the Wilder People.
Oh my god, I love this film.
It's a bit lesser known than some of the other things on my list. Directed by Taika Waititi, starring Sam Neill and Julian Dennison. It also features Rachel House, who plays a child services worker that is just a bit over the top and is trying everything she can to hunt down this missing kid. So it's based on a book originally called Wild Pork and Watercress. One of the taglines for the film was "Nature just got gangster." So essentially, what it's about is about an old couple, Bella and Hector, who are kind of reclusive and they live in the country, and they become foster parents to Ricky, who is a problem child from the city, and he kind of thinks he's a gangster. After some adjustment, things start going reasonably well, but then Bella dies, and then Hector is left to look after Ricky, and they don't really get on very well. Her death causes child services to decide to send Ricky back to the orphanage. Ricky doesn't want to go back, so he runs away, and Hector, played by Sam Neill, follows him into the New Zealand bush to try and stop him from running away, basically. And then they basically end up getting lost in the bush together. And then it sparks a national manhunt for him and for both the kid and Hector in the New Zealand bush. And yeah, it's basically a story of just them going from hating each other to then liking each other, and then so it's a buddy comedy between.
Survive the bush.
Yeah,
because it is a very common. Well, I say very common. It's a fairly common thing in New Zealand for people to get lost in the bush.
Yeah, because it's just mad. It's massive, and it's
yeah.
But yeah, so it's a different take on a buddy film because it's not. It's between a foster dad and a foster kid who don't like each other and then end up liking each other, but it's completely comedic and they're trying to. It's also a survival film.
Yeah.
Yeah, the film was the first local feature to gross more than $1 million New Zealand dollars in its opening weekend at the New Zealand box office.
Nice.
All of the news presenters in the film were actual news presenters on New Zealand TV at the time of filming.
Huh.
It also, I didn't notice this when watching it, but is ridiculously similar to Disney Pixar's Up. So
Oh my god.
it's about a cantankerous old man and a complaining overweight child who get lost in the wilderness after the man's wife dies. Both exactly the same. They both travel with their dog and find a bird that no one believes exists anymore. And they lay the wife's spirit in her final resting place while out in the wilderness. They also both meet a man who has lived out in the wilderness, which has cost him his sanity. And they are also both hunted by people who want the man dead. Eventually they get home, where the man has softened and becomes a part of the boy's life. They are literally identical stories.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No wonder they're both brilliant.
Exactly. They're both, Up was on my honourable mentions list for this film, for this episode. Wow. So it's mad. Yeah, they're both, really similar. Obviously, one is a lot more wholesome and the other one's a lot more,
dark.
Yeah, dark and humorous.
Yeah.
And there's some great quotes in here as well. So there's one where it's this is Ricky and Paula, so Ricky and the thingy officer.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and so he says, "I'll never stop running. Yeah, and I'll never stop chasing you. I'm relentless. I'm like the Terminator. I'm more like the Terminator than you. I said it first. You're more like Sarah Connor, and in the first movie too, before she could do chin-ups." Also, there's another one by Ricky Baker, which is I would use this all the time if someone was touching me, just like, he's molestering me.
It's so funny as well. None of these quotes are even anywhere near as good because they don't have the New Zealand accent.
And they're not a kid saying it. There's also, why do you reckon he calls himself Psycho Sam? He says this while Psycho Sam is putting kitchen pots on both of their heads, and then he says, "Here you go, put these on to stop the government tracking you." Ricky says, "Never mind." Also, when Ricky gets given the dog, he gets asked what he's going to call him, and Ricky says, "I'm still thinking. Something fierce to reflect its true nature. Either Psycho, Megatron, or Tupac." And it ends up being Tupac.
Yeah, he ends up actually calling it Tupac. But what a great film.
It's so good. It's one of the best films I've seen recently.
And just like in true Taika Waititi directing fashion, he plays a role within the film.
Yeah.
Does he play a priest? He does, he plays a priest, and it's so funny.
It's such a good film. If any of you haven't seen it, and you have seen Thor Ragnarok, and you liked Thor Ragnarok, you will love this even more.
It's a wholesome version of anything. It's just wholesome Taika Waititi. He's trying to hit every single area.
Yeah.
He did What We Do in the Shadows. Horror, technically.
I guess,
comedy.
Yeah. They're all comedic.
What We Do in the Shadows. Not What We Do. Hunt for the Wilder People. Is wholesome.
It's a coming of age and a buddy comedy.
Yeah. And then Thor Ragnarok, also a buddy comedy.
And an action
film.
And a superhero film. Yeah. And then he's obviously involved in The Mandalorian too. Yeah. He's on it. He's so good.
He's great.
Alright, what else you got?
So, this one is quite different. This is Bad Neighbours.
Okay, this is a good film. I like this.
But as it is in America, just Neighbours, which I will tell you why it's called Bad Neighbours in the UK. I think it's the UK, Australia, and somewhere else. They didn't want it to be confused with the TV show.
Yeah.
Neighbours. And this is also shown by one of the people who was Seth Rogen actually was seen, or they had a recording of him singing the TV show Neighbours song when they were talking about the film.
Yeah.
Which is why they decided in those areas to change it for,
Yeah, so people don't get confused.
so that we don't get too confused. But it is just called Neighbours in America and basically everywhere else.
Okay.
So what it is so I'll tell you who's in it. But yeah. Just so it's starring Seth Rogen, Rose Byrne, Zac Efron, and Dave Franco.
Yeah.
Along with quite a few other, I'm going to call them dude pros.
Dude pros. Okay.
People who very well fit into the fraternity.
Yeah.
See. So, Mac and Kelly, which is Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne, they have their little peaceful suburban life, and then a fraternity moves into the house next door. And they are constantly partying students who refuse to be quiet no matter how much the couple try.
Yeah. And Zac Efron's the main student.
Yeah, he's the
head of the house,
like,
head of fraternity.
Yeah. And it's also just quite sad for the couple because they have a newborn baby.
Yeah.
Who they try to figure out how to live with a newborn baby, and then they have all these kids next door being loud. I don't blame them for being angry, but they also don't want to be seen as like old people, so they try and like be like all cool and hip. It's just a really
and then it becomes a war between the two people.
Yeah.
Between the two households. Like an all-out war.
So, like, it's a good film. It has a lot of those over-the-top kind of scenes where you're like, this is so unrealistic, but it's just got... It fits in with the theme of Seth Rogen films.
It's like over-the-top party scenes and drug-taking scenes and stuff like that, but it's also some wholesomeness because of the family aspect, and then also like the friendship aspect between Zac Efron and Seth Rogen's characters as well. And like almost like a redemption arc as well for Zac Efron.
Yeah, so it's really wholesome. I didn't want to mention the second one because it's quite different. I don't remember much about it. Like the only thing I remember about it is the fact that the fraternity house moves out and then a sorority moves in and they are worse.
Yeah, and then they have to actually use Zac Efron to help them get rid of the
like
who is Chloe Grace Moretz? Yeah.
Selena Gomez, Beanie Feldstein.
Yeah. And that's a good film as well. It's not as good as the first one.
The first one was just so good because obviously we hadn't seen it before.
Yeah. And Seth Rogen's brilliant. He actually comes up on my list later on as well. Maybe a couple times. So,
there are a couple of fun facts I have about this. All of the actors took a pay cut to help the film's budget because they needed the budget to make a lot of the stuff happen for it. So all of the actors, including like specifically Zac Efron and Seth Rogen, they took a pay cut to help the film's budget stay where it needed to be. I just think it's quite nice that they're all just like, yeah, I don't care, I'm just enjoying making the film.
Yeah, I imagine they were still getting paid a hefty amount.
Probably, yeah.
And was it Seth Rogen's film as well? Did he write it or something? Because he writes a lot of the films he's in.
He was the writer on it, but it was actually directed by Nicholas Stoller.
Okay.
So the film was originally written as Max, so Seth Rogen's character, and his friends going against the fraternity. But then Seth Rogen's wife read the script and she was like, well, this is just unrealistic because a bunch of guys would not have a problem with a fraternity house moving next door. Yeah. The problem would be if it was like him and his wife. So they rewrote it to be about him and his wife going against the a kid going against the frat house. So do you remember the scene where the baby is watching Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne having sex?
No.
So they have a scene where they're trying to keep their sex life going. You know, apparently it's quite hard when you have a child. So they try to keep their sex life going, and they can't do anything because they feel uncomfortable with the baby watching. So what happens is, like, Seth's character goes over and he turns the baby around in, like, its little chair. So turns it around so they can carry on. And the scene was supposed to end there.
Yeah.
But the baby actually kept turning around. Like, the actor kept turning around to watch what they were doing. So they just kept filming her because the baby was so curious. And you can actually hear in the scene Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne laughing because they're trying to just keep pretending to have sex.
Yeah.
But the baby just keeps looking around at them. And it was like, can't handle this.
Baby's getting a free show.
Also, Zac Efron broke his hand on the set. So, he has, like, his fight scene with Dave Franco.
Yeah.
And he actually broke his hand doing this. And all of the producers and everyone was panicking because they was like, we need to keep on schedule, but we obviously need to let his hand heal and everything. But then, without letting anyone know, he actually arranged to have surgery on his hand to fix it. And then he was back on set the next day.
Damn.
He was just like, I'm going to get an emergency surgery. I'm going to go fix this.
It's like everyone getting shit done.
Yeah.
Because he actually wears a thing in the film, doesn't he?
I think so. I think they make it into, like, the thing so that he can...
Yeah, because he punched it and he hurt his hand in the film as well as in real life. Yeah, that makes sense.
And And also just a little bit of wholesome, well, I say wholesome and also funny. The final scene between Mac and Teddy, where Seth Rogen and Zac Efron meet outside of Abercrombie and Fitch, that was completely improvised, and Zac Efron had no idea that Seth Rogen was going to take off his top. So they're just there, just trying to go on together. Seth just takes off his top and starts, standing around with him. And yeah, it just completely threw him off guard.
It is a good film.
I just think it's real wholesome. Seth Rogen seems like the best person to hang out with.
Yeah. I feel like in a lot of his films, there's a lot of improvisation. Like, it's all scripted out, but they just do a lot of improvisation, and it makes it so funny.
Yeah. I just think it's a brilliant film.
Yeah. Is that what you got to say about it?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll move straight on then. This one is I Love You Man.
Oh,
which came out in 2009. This is like the ultimate buddy film, because it's just like a full-on bromance, right?
Yeah.
So it's directed by John Hamburg, and it stars Paul Rudd, again, and Jason Segel.
Yes.
I think that's how his surname's pronounced. And they're both brilliant actors. They're in so many good films together. It also features Rashida Jones, Sarah Burns, Jon Favreau, J.K. Simmons, Andy Samberg, Nick Kroll, all of the members of Rush, Lou Ferrigno, and others. Like, the cast is ridiculous.
Everything that you said there sounded like, oh, you can't top this one, and then it just gets
and
to
it just kept going. Yeah, it gets to Hulk. Like, it's mad. It's the most hetero bromance movie of all time. So what it's about is about Peter Clavin, who is Paul Rudd, whose world revolves around his real estate work, and he is getting married, right? And he doesn't have any friends, so it's him trying to find a best man.
Yeah.
So he goes on loads of dates with men, essentially, to try and find a best man, and eventually finds Sydney, who's Jason Segel, at one of Peter's open houses. And then they end up becoming friends, even though they're completely opposite people in so many different ways. And it's essentially their friendship gets so big that it starts actually impacting his marriage and job and stuff like that. But it's such a good film. Like, one of them is just a piece of shit and the other one isn't, and they're just building this friendship and jamming out to Rush songs together and stuff, and it's just awesome. And it's a really wholesome film as well.
Yeah.
So Rush actually perform in it, and they actually performed an hour-long set for the whole cast and crew.
Oh, that's cute.
And a bunch of diehard fans around the area also came along as well. Also, J.K. Simmons, who plays Paul Rudd and Andy Samberg's dad, is only actually 14 years older than Paul Rudd.
Really?
Yeah, J.K. Simmons is only 14 years older than Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd literally is an immortal being. He doesn't age.
He hasn't aged since he was about 25.
No, him and Keanu Reeves are just...
50.
Him and Keanu Reeves are probably actually about 5,000 years old.
You heard it here first, guys.
Also, originally, actor John Berthel was initially meant to play Robbie Clavin, but was replaced by Andy Samberg shortly before the film started beginning.
Wow.
Yeah, would have been so different. Having John Berthel instead of fucking Andy Samberg. There's just such a massive difference.
Yeah, that is quite a different way to go.
Yeah, it's a brilliant film. Definitely recommend.
Nice. Is that what you got to say about it?
Yeah, I got loads more to go through, so I want to try and keep it short until I get to the ones I definitely want to talk more about them.
That's fair. So I've actually got a couple of animated ones on mine.
Okay.
Because they just about fit the
buddy comedy.
Yeah, our requirements for a buddy comedy.
Yeah. Our very strict requirements.
The most vague thing that we could go for. So this is Road to Eldorado. It's a brilliant film.
It is awesome.
So, it's starring Kevin Kline, Kenneth Branagh, and Rosie Perez.
Rosie Perez,
yeah. Came out in the year 2000, so, you know.
Great year.
Great year. 2 years old. Oh. And it was directed by Bibbo Bergeron?
I have no idea.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Bibbo Bergeron.
Yeah.
His
name's not Bibbo. It's Bibbo because they say it in the film.
Bibbo?
Bibbo.
That's such a weird name.
It's a nickname, which they actually put in the film.
Okay.
You know the what is it called? The animal.
Armadillo.
Yes, the armadillo is called Bibbo because of him.
Oh, okay.
Like, they just wrote him as as a little nod to, oh yeah, here's a character name after you, even though he's the director. So the story is about two swindlers who get their hands on a map to the fabled city of gold, Eldorado. And they get it while pulling off a scam. And then their plan goes bad and they end up lost at sea. And then they end up accidentally stumbling across Eldorado, where they are worshipped by the natives because they look so different to the native people because they are two white men.
It's not just that. There's also like things of the gods and they look very similar to them. They
also fit like the prophecies and stuff that have been been written about, or not about them, but supposedly written about them. So they lean into the story until
so they could be gods for a while.
That they could be gods and they can
steal the gold.
They can have all this gold until Tullio, I think it's Tullio out of them. One of them ends up wanting to stay, and the other one wants to leave.
Yeah.
And then they also get found out to not be gods because there's like a skeptic guy there who's like, these guys don't seem like gods, they seem like mere mortals.
Yeah. Also because he wants the power, right?
Yeah, and he also wants to be powerful because he's a sorcerer.
Yeah.
Which is an odd twist to have in the film. Like, he's an actual sorcerer and he can create like demonic beings and stuff. I'm like, oh alright, damn. So what is quite sad about this film is it is the first DreamWorks film to not receive a profit at the box office.
That's mad, because it's one of the best films they've ever made.
Yeah. I just don't understand why no one liked it or went to see it. Because it's still not even rated as a good film. Like, look
what do you mean? It's great.
On Rotten Tomatoes, there's something like 43%.
Fuck off.
I know.
People are so wrong.
It's a brilliant story.
Yeah, it's an amazing film.
The soundtrack was done by Elton John with Tim Rice, who wrote the lyrics, but also along with Hans Zimmer.
Okay, so I wasn't impressed, and you said Hans Zimmer is involved. All right, so it's a bit better. Hans Zimmer literally has made everything ever for every film.
Yeah, but it's got quite a cult following, like most films that flop at the box office, which includes a very large Facebook group meme page called Road to Eldorado Gold Posting. I am a part of this page.
Yeah, and you should definitely follow it if you like Eldorado. It's hilarious.
They just fill it with so many good quality memes.
Yeah.
And it's just great because there's so many people who are sharing their love for it because it's got like these cult things. There's a lot of like odd meme pages, which also will come up again later on.
Oh, okay.
To be fair, a lot of these have meme pages, I've just noticed. So.
Yeah, anything that has a big following will have a meme page, let's be real.
Yeah, but I just thought I just think it's quite fun being on there, because...
One of my ones, or actually a couple of mine later, also have meme pages.
But yeah, Road to Eldorado, brilliant comedy.
Yeah.
And definitely just about buddies. It's these two guys.
Yeah.
Going off to pretend to be gods. Like, who doesn't want that? That's just Saturday night with the boys.
Do you want to talk about your other animated one, or shall I take it and then you take the next one?
You take this one.
Okay. This one is not animated, and it's way more aimed towards adults. So this is Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Oh, God.
Came out in 2004, directed by Danny Liner, stars John Cho and Cal Penn. They're the buddies in this one. And it's also like a stoner comedy as well. It also features Ethan Embry, David Krumholtz, Rob Tinkler, Fred Willard, and of course Neil Patrick Harris. So it's about Harold and Kumar, who are two stoners who end up getting the munchies, and what they crave most is White Castle. So it's basically their adventure trying to get to White Castle.
Isn't it like the area where they live, they don't have a White Castle?
Yeah. And so they're going on this like massive journey to get to White Castle, and they encounter loads of things, including a raccoon, a racist police officer, and a horny Neil Patrick Harris, as well as other things. Like a jaguar. But like the whole film is just ridiculous and over the top, and it's like the perfect stoner buddy film. It's brilliant. And so I've got some trivia. as a thank you for all of the free advertising that the film gave White Castle, they arranged to have collectible Harold and Kumar cups at all of the locations during the film release, even though it was an R-rated comedy. And it's the first time that an R-rated comedy has ever had has been advertised at fast food.
Nice.
Yeah. The movie also relaunched the career of Neil Patrick Harris, who then went on to become Barney Stinson in How I Met Your Mother. So if it wasn't for this film, he wouldn't have been Barney Stinson.
I would not have thought of that as a part of the timeline.
Yeah. It literally, the year after is when How I Met Your Mother came on, and this relaunched his career, so he went in to do that, which is mad.
So does he play a gay guy in Harold and Kumar?
No.
Okay.
He plays essentially Barney Stinson. He's like an overly sexed up, horny rock star kind of dude.
Okay.
In it, and like and a massive drug addict, and like he's like over the top. It's so insanely over the top, and that's kind of, I guess, where they got the idea to hire him to do a similar-esque sort of role in How I Met Your Mother. But yeah, it's brilliant. And also, both John Cho and Kal Penn appeared in How I Met Your Mother alongside Neil Patrick Harris at one point or another.
I don't remember John Cho coming up.
Yeah, he was in it.
Wait, I think I remember where he shows up. I think he works with Barney.
He never is actually on screen with Barney. Obviously, Kal Penn is. Kal Penn plays Robin's boyfriend at one point. But yeah. So, also, Neil Patrick Harris in this film, he like, normally if you play yourself in a film, you just it says played by himself and stuff like that. Whereas in this, he was actually billed as playing Neil Patrick Harris. So he was playing a character, Neil Patrick Harris. So, and the reason why is because they wanted to make it clear that he was playing a parody of himself and not himself, because it was like so overtly an asshole, right?
Yeah.
Also, Ryan Reynolds shows up as a doctor in this movie.
Nice.
Yeah, and he shows up and he wipes Kal Penn's brow after completing surgery on a dying man. This is a tribute to a scene in Van Wilder where Kal Penn wipes Ryan Reynolds' brow during an infamous baked goods scene. Yeah, it's a brilliant film. It's so over the top. It's the perfect stoner comedy, and it's a brilliant buddy comedy as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it if you like stoner comedies. It is stupidly over the top, but in a good way.
In a way where it's like actually tastefully done.
Yeah, and it's on purpose over the top.
Yeah.
Like, you can. It's not like it's just stupid. You're watching, you're like, oh, okay, this is funny because they've done it in a clever way. All right, what else you got?
So this is my other animated film.
Okay.
Which is Emperor's New Groove.
Yes.
Also came out in year 2000.
I actually prefer Eldorado to Emperor's New Groove.
I feel like they're so, like, they are similar, but also like so different.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how I didn't notice this, but Cusco is voiced by David Spade.
Yeah.
I don't know how that never actually occurred to me. But yeah, so it's starring David Spade, John Goodman,
Hell yeah.
Eartha Kitt, and Patrick Warburton. And it's directed by Mark Dindal. I just like that name.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that I've not heard of before, like the directors and stuff that you've been talking about.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of them, they just like, they do their thing. Like, they aren't trying to become like...
Well, they probably are.
They probably are trying, but like, they haven't become like big names in many things. So, the plot of it, if you haven't seen it, Emperor Cusco is turned into a llama by his ex-administrator, Yzma, and must now regain his throne with the help of Pacha, a gentle llama herder.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a very good job of describing what it is.
In a way, yeah.
Just thinking already at the weird similarities between this and Eldorado.
Yeah.
Of the bad guy somehow, with no explanation how, can use sorcery.
It's because it's set in like an old, mysterious
yeah.
sort of setting.
One thing I like about Yzma is it wasn't even intentional to turn him into a llama. She actually tried to straight up kill him.
Yeah.
Like, she tried. But
her assistant is an idiot.
Yeah, but Kronk, her assistant, accidentally gave him extract of llama.
Yeah. Kronk is the best character by far.
Oh, he is.
Who's he voiced by?
He's the one who's voiced by Patrick Warburton.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He does loads of voice acting.
Yeah, he does a lot of voice acting, which was quite surprised me because I recognize his face
He has
from something
he
else.
has a really unique voice. So.
Yeah. So, speaking of Patrick Warburton, he improvised the scene where Kronk hums his own theme song while carrying Kuzco out to go, like, throw him off of a waterfall. But because of this, the Disney's legal department had Warburton sign all rights to this humming composition to them. So he just made up this little, like, tune and had to legally, like, sign a legal document signing over these rights.
Yeah, because otherwise he would get the money from it every time it was played in the film.
But that's just so insane. It's just like, he's just doing his job. He's just doing his acting job. And it's just like, no. You're not allowed to compose songs while you're in.
Yeah, you got to give us the rights to that song now.
Okay, sorry, just another thing. So as we said, like, they use extract of llama, which turns Kuzco into a llama. When they accidentally all have a drink that has this extract in it. So both Kronk and Yzma have to throw away their drink in order for just Kuzco to be poisoned.
For him to be the
because they didn't want to be poisoned. But as you can see, when Yzma throws her drink into the potted plant next to her, the plant turns into the shape of a llama.
Yeah. Clever little animations like that.
Just like a clever little thing, because at this point you don't know that it's going to turn Kuzco into a llama.
Yeah.
But it turns the plant into one straight away.
Yeah.
Not a llama, but a plant that looks like a llama. I just think that's pretty cool. And there's also a scene where Kuzco and Pacha are searching through the different potions that all have, like, different animals. They're, like, all these different animal potions that she has. And they actually say lions, tigers, bears. And then when they come upon the potion to turn him back into a human, Yzma shows up and goes, oh my. So the scene literally goes, lion, tigers, bears. And then she goes, oh my. And they didn't want to use this joke. Like, the writers hated this joke. But they had to put it in for some reason. Like, they were forced to use the joke. Just for whatever reason.
Okay.
And also just something I think is pretty cool. When Kronk and Yzma go to their lab, they pass several animal-shaped gates. The first one is a cat, and the sound of a cat meowing is heard, which is just a nod to the fact that Eartha Kitt, who voices Yzma, was Catwoman in Batman.
Yeah.
In the TV show Batman in 1966.
Damn. Okay.
And also, just another thing that refers back to that is she does get turned into a cat at the end of the film. Yeah. Because she drinks a cat potion.
Yeah.
So she actually gets turned into a cat, and I never made that connection before that she was Catwoman.
Yeah.
I just think it's really cool. As a kid, it seems like such a cool person.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's Emperor's New Groove.
Okay. My one is, again, very different from that. My next one is... It's my last one that isn't part of two different groups.
Right.
Hang on, let me explain that clearer. So, after I've spoken about this, the rest of the things on my list are either Simon Pegg and Nick Frost films,
right,
or Kevin Smith films.
Right.
So this is my last one that isn't part of those two collections. So, this one came out in 2007, and it's Superbad.
Nice.
Which is, honestly, one of the best films ever made. It's directed by Greg Mottola. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And it's written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. It stars Michael Cera and Jonah Hill, and they're on a buddy adventure ending high school. It also features, again, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, and this was his film debut. And it has Bill Hader, Seth Rogen, Emma Stone. It was also Emma Stone's film debut, apparently.
Really?
Yep. Wow. And it has loads of like the usual Seth Rogen co-stars as well. So it's about Seth and Evan. Seth and Evan are played not by Seth Rogen. You'd think it would. No, Seth and Evan are played by Michael Cera and Jonah Hill. But it is based on Seth Rogen's childhood.
Yes.
Sort of, like, roughly.
An exaggeration. But...
Yeah. So Seth and Evan are best friends, and they're inseparable, and they're kind of trying to navigate through the last weeks of high school. they basically luck into an invitation to an end-of-year party with the popular kids, and they spend the whole day, with the help of their nerdy friend Fogel, played by Christopher Mintz-Plasse, trying to score enough alcohol to lubricate the party and inebriate two girls, Jules and Becca, one of them being Emma Stone.
Yeah.
Basically, so they can kickstart,
plot,
so that they can have sex for the first time. Well, they're kids finishing high school. They want to have sex for the first time before they go off to college. That's the aim of this film. So yeah, basically it's that, and their quest is complicated because Fogel ends up falling in with two completely inept cops who both slow down and then somehow assist the plan as well. But it's basically just this adventure of they try and get booze, they fail. Fogel then goes off and has an adventure with these two completely inept cops, one of them being Seth Rogen and one of them being Bill Hader. And then Seth and Evan then both are trying to just kind of figure out a way of getting booze for this party. And they end up going to another party, and then like loads of mad shit happens. So Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg started writing the script when they were just 13 years old because they wanted to see if they could write a movie. So that's why the main characters in this film are called Seth and Evan, because it literally was them writing a movie kind of with themselves in it.
That's so cute.
And Michael Cera's mother actually read the script before he did, and she was the one who convinced him to try out for the part.
Aww.
Also, the penis drawings, which are featured all the way through the film, are all done by David Goldberg and Evan Goldberg's brother. No, sorry, David Goldberg, which is Evan Goldberg's brother.
Right.
There were close to 1,000 images produced, but only a handful were featured in the movie in the closing credits. Because Jonah Hill and Seth Rogen are such great friends, they were quoted as saying that when casting Evan, they weren't so much looking for a good actor, they were casting for a new best friend. And that was Michael Cera. And during filming, Christopher Mintz-Plasse was the youngest. He was only 17. Michael Cera was 18, and Jonah Hill was the oldest at 23.
Was 23?
Yeah. The word fuck is used 186 times. And the movie itself is only 113 minutes long. So that averages out to approximately 1.6 uses of the word per minute. And 84 of them are said by Jonah Hill alone. Also, the semen conversation, which for those of you who've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about, was mostly improvised and actually lasted for about 4 minutes, but it was edited into an under 1 minute for the final cut.
Oh, God.
Also, Eminem has been quoted as saying that this is his favourite movie of all time. And he actually references it in two of his songs, Brainless and Ballin' Uncontrollably. Some more fun facts. The DVD Blu-ray menu features a silhouette of Michael Cera dancing, and it was filmed continuously for an hour, with Michael Cera dancing non-stop for the whole hour to give the menu the feeling of not having a good looped scene.
Huh.
And because Christopher Mintz-Plasse was only 17 at the time of filming, his mother was required to be on set during the filming of his sex scene. Everything about this film is just hilarious. Like, I've watched it so many times, I'd still watch it again. It's such a good, like, just relaxing party film that's just funny the whole way through. And it's like it's a coming of age story, but it's also a buddy comedy. And it's a buddy comedy between not just Seth and Evan, but between, like, Fogel and these two police officers, and it's also like almost a rom-com as well, because of the relationship forming between Michael Cera and Emma. No,
it's Jonah Hill.
It's Jonah Hill and Emma Stone. It's so good. It's got everything you could possibly need. It's got action. It's got romance. It's got just over the top stupidity.
You just made me think. I was like, what is the other film that I've seen Jonah Hill and Michael Cera in? And that is This Is the End. When the world's about to end and they're having this massive celebrity party.
It's got everyone in it.
Yeah, it literally has everyone in it, because I was just thinking, why am I thinking about this film? And
they actually play the same characters.
Yeah.
I think.
No, they don't play those characters, no. Because I remember Michael
Cera...
No,
Michael Cera doesn't.
Michael Cera plays Michael Cera and he slaps Rihanna.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he doesn't slap her, he slaps her ass. Because he was like, hey, can I do this?
Yeah.
And she was like, only if I get to hit you back. So, you know... just a friendly thing that popped up into my head. So I'm going to talk about what is pretty much the exact same film.
Oh, okay. Oh, I know what you're on about. Yeah, a rip-off.
So it wasn't intentional for it to be a rip-off. I'll say that.
I don't believe that.
which is Booksmart, which came out, I was going to say last year, we're in 2021, it came out in 2019. So it's starring Caitlin Dever, Beanie Feldstein, and Billy Lord.
Okay.
And it was directed by Olivia Wilde.
Yeah. This is essentially just like the female equivalent of the same film.
Basically. So, on the eve of their high school graduation, two academic superstars and best friends realised that they should have worked less and played more. Determined not to fall short of their peers, the girls tried to cram 4 years of fun into one night. Which is literally just two girls, two best friends, want to go to a party to get absolutely smashed and have a great night that they haven't had yet.
Yeah.
So, as I said, this was written quite a while ago, and they didn't actually intend for it to be so similar to Superbad, but it just, like, it was completely, well, so they say completely coincidental, because, at least according to the director, that some of the scenes are actually just, like, exactly the same. Like, they are mirrored almost exactly.
Yeah.
Even to the point where you said, oh, they end up going to the wrong party, where they end up at Billy Lord's party, which is just on a yacht.
Yeah.
Not the party that they wanted to go to. Speaking of Billy Lord, the screenwriter actually wrote more scenes for her because she was doing such a good job in the scenes that she was
She's the one who
in.
plays just like an absolute insane character,
she's
right?
A super rich kid who, I can't even tell, like, I think she's doing just about every drug possible.
Yeah.
Because she is rich and doesn't have anything to worry about.
And she's just doing mad shit the whole way through.
Yeah, and she is, like, the exact, like, she is just vibing.
Okay, if you say so.
Like, she's living her best life. She's just floating about, and also everywhere that these two girls end up being, she's also somehow there.
Even though she's meant to be having a party on her yacht.
Yeah, even though she's doing different things at every other point.
Yeah.
Like, she's just like, oh, they're like, why are you here? And she's like, I don't know.
Which is a trope used quite a lot in those sort of films.
Yeah. So, also speaking of, like, its relation to Superbad,
Yeah.
Beanie Feldstein is Jonah Hill's younger sister. So she's in this, and obviously Jonah Hill's in Superbad. So, like, they're basically in the exact same film, just at different times. But they're related. And I just think that's
In
quite
real
cool.
life?
Yeah, they are related.
Oh.
Like, she is actually his little sister.
Oh, that's mad.
And also, in the film, just trying to think, Caitlin Dever plays a lesbian, and Beanie Feldstein plays a straight character.
Yeah.
When in real life it's actually the opposite.
Okay.
I just thought, quite.
Well, they're actors.
Yeah, I know they're actors, but it's just the fact that actually in real life it is reverse.
Yeah.
Not just like the usual state of they are both straight. No, like they actually are just reversing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty good film. And I enjoyed it. It's just obviously it is pretty much a rehashing of Superbad, so.
Yeah, big time. Alright, shall I get into my Kevin Smith films?
Do what you want.
Alright, I'll start off with Kevin's first film, Clerks 1. Written and directed by the man himself, Kevin Smith. Came out in 1994. Stars Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson. It also has Marilyn Gigliotti, I'm going to mess up all these, Lisa Spooner, Jason Mewes, Kevin Smith, Scott Mosier, and a handful of others. Basically, Kevin's friends, essentially. So what it's about it's like a down-to-earth comedy about Dante Hicks, who is just not having a good day. He's a clerk in a small-town convenience store, and he's told to come in on his day off. Dante thinks that life is a series of like down endings, and he's really pessimistic. And this day is just no different. He then reads in the newspaper that his ex-girlfriend Caitlin is getting married, and his present girlfriend reveals to him that she has more sexual experience than he thought. And his main concerns throughout the day is just that he wants to go to a hockey game that afternoon because he had to play a hockey game, and he has a wake for a friend who died. But his buddy Randall, who works as a clerk in the video store next door, also hates his job as much as Dante does, and he's there and it's basically just a bunch of dialogue of them just chatting mad nerdy shit to each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a buddy comedy between two people that hate their jobs, and they're just kind of getting through the day in very different ways. And it's just brilliant. So Kevin Smith is like a massive comic book fan. Everyone knows that. He sold a massive part of his collection to help fund this film. And he's since been able to buy most of them back. Kevin Smith worked in the store where they shot the film, and they shot for 21 straight nights. He would clock in at 6 a.m. and finish at 11 p.m. Then they would shoot until 4 a.m. So like he would work at the store all day, and then they would shoot until 4 a.m. when the store was closed. And he would try and grab just like an hour or so sleep before getting ready to go back to work.
That's disgusting.
At the same store. Also, the scene where Dante confronts Caitlin about her marriage to an Asian design major in the video store is done in one shot, which lasts over 5 minutes. It was shot on the first night of filming.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Clerks is also loosely based on the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri, hence the name of the protagonist, Dante Hicks. Also, there are 9 breaks in the movie to represent the 9 rings of hell. Also, the film's like ridiculously low budget is part of the reason it was shot in black and white, because a number of different types of lighting were used, and in order to fix this to make them all look the same in post-production would have been really expensive. So they just went with black and white.
Nice.
This is the first film in Kevin Smith's intricately connected View Askew universe, the others being Dogma, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Jane and Silent Bob Strike Back, Clerks 2, and now the reboot as well, Jane and Silent Bob reboot. And they all have they're all like linked together by characters and themes and events and stuff like that. And they all have references to each other as well, which I'll talk about when I talk about the films later. So there's one scene where Jay Muse, who plays Jay, is doing a dance scene. And everyone had to leave because he was so shy. So everyone had to leave for him to actually film it because he was because he was so nervous. Also, the anti-smoking sentiment in the film represented Kevin Smith's own viewpoint when he wrote the screenplay. Silent Bob doesn't inhale once when he puffs on his cigarette because of this, but after filming the movie, because he was like fake smoking for so long, he became a 2-pack a day smoker.
Oh.
Although now he only smokes weed and he doesn't smoke anything else.
Yeah.
He has done for a long while. Kevin Smith raised the whole film's budget of $27,000 by selling off his comic collection and borrowing $3,000 from his parents and maxing out his credit cards.
Oof.
So he just funded the entire thing himself.
Yeah.
And that kickstarted his entire career.
Isn't it in like lists of films that like
one of the lowest budgets?
Yeah, lowest budget. It's like in the top top 10 films of low budgets.
Yeah. Also, the word fuck and its derivatives are said 91 times throughout the film, mostly between Dante and Jay. Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier attended the Vancouver Film School in British Columbia, Canada, and made a pact that whichever of them first started directing a movie, the other would produce it. And Smith created his first film, and Mosier produced it. And he has done for every single one of Smith's films.
That's sweet.
Yeah. It's kickstarted one of the greatest series of films ever made. And it kickstarted Kevin Smith's career. And it's just a brilliant buddy comedy between these two really relatable, down-to-earth, working-class dudes, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. Shall I talk about Clerks 2, or do you want to take one?
Carry on talking about Clerks. Might as well.
Okay, yeah. So I'll continue on. So Clerks 2 is also on this list because it's an even better buddy comedy. This is one of the few films where the sequel is better than the original. So Clerks 2 came out in 2006, again written and directed by Kevin Smith, and again stars Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson. But also Rosario Dawson, one of my favourite actresses of all time. It's got basically the same cast as Clerks 1, with some added goodness, such as Rosario. It's also got Ethan Suplee, Ben Affleck, Trevor Furman, Jason Lee, and all the usual View Askew actors, which are in most of his films. So it's set 10 years later than the original. Dante heads to Quick Stop to find out it's been burnt down, and that forces him and Randall to seek employment at a fast food place called Movies, which is now actually a real place because Kevin Smith made it to make it happen. So it's set a year after they start working at Movies. Dante's on the verge of leaving New Jersey and his dead-end job so that he can move to Florida with his fiancée Emma. And this leaves Randall feeling rejected and betrayed. And as the day progresses, Dante starts questioning whether it's worth to move to Florida after all. So it's another one where it's just set in this one place and it's just their relationship essentially.
Yeah.
But loads of shit happens. So one of the things that prompted Kevin Smith to actually make this film is because he made a promise to Jay Mewes that if Mewes managed to stay off drugs, he would be able to play the character of Jay one more time. So Smith kept the promise. When Dante picks up Randall in the beginning of the film, the house Randall exits is actually Kevin Smith's childhood house.
Oh.
Also, Randall's rant against the Lord of the Rings trilogy was taken almost verbatim from Kevin Smith's diatribe against the movies in the London section of his An Evening with Kevin Smith film. And also, I use that rant quite a lot when people, try and tell me about Lord of the Rings, when obviously Star Wars is the only true trilogy. What was I saying? Oh yeah, there's one of the lines that he uses is, and just before the credits roll, Sam bricks in Frodo's mouth. That's in the film. It was taken directly from Kevin Smith just ad-libbing in one of his talks. Also, so the idea to have Jay Mewes do the Buffalo Bill dance to Goodbye Horses came straight from Mewes, who apparently does this on a regular basis to Kevin Smith.
Huh.
For those of you who've seen the film, yeah. So Kevin Smith's daughter Harley Quinn is the little girl that Dante waves to in the window of the restaurant.
Oh.
So she was acting like as a baby, essentially. Kevin Smith was criticised for casting his wife, Jennifer Schwartzbach, in the movie. And he defended himself by saying, I always cast my friends in movies. Why wouldn't I cast my best friend, which is my wife?
Aww.
Which makes sense.
Wholesome.
And she's a good actor as well. As good as Jay Mewes and Kevin. Also, the movies used in the film was a closed Burger King.
Huh.
And again, as I usually say, I'm going to tell you how many times the word fuck has been said. It was said 136 times throughout the movie.
Jesus.
Also, this film was given an 8-minute standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival.
Wow.
Yeah. Another reason why I love it is because, as always, with the View Askew films, it has countless references to other Kevin Smith films and also movies like Jaws and loads of just like famous nerdy films. He just makes references to them all the time. And yeah, it's just brilliant. It's just a step up from Clerks 1.
I need to rewatch them.
Yeah, I want to rewatch all of them. I'll carry on with my Kevin Smith gloating after you've mentioned the next film.
So I'm going quite different here. I've got quite a few films that are not going to fit into what you're talking
That's
about.
fine.
Here, so.
Gives people a break from me just chatting shit about Kevin Smith.
So I'm going to go for Whip It, which we watched quite recently.
Yeah.
Came out in 2009, starring Elliot Page.
Who was then Ellen Page at the time.
Yeah, well, Ellen Page at the time, but starring Elliot Page, Alia Shawkat, Kristen Wiig, and Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
And it was also...
Great cast.
Yeah, but it was also directed by Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
So what it is, it's about Bliss, who is a 17-year-old girl, and her mother...
Played by Ellen Page.
Yeah,
right?
played by... Ellen Page at the time. Her mother wants her to win pageants, like beauty pageants, but she has found her true passion in women's roller derby. So while she's training for the roller derby, her mother is still trying to get her to be a girl and be in pageants. And no one in her family knows that she is going to these roller derbies because she's technically not allowed because she's under 18.
Yeah, because she's like 17 and you have to be 18.
Yeah, she's 17. You have to be 18 to do it without parental permission.
Yeah,
and
because
also,
it's really violent.
And just in general, to compete, because it's a competition, she has to have an adult's permission to actually even enter the competition. But everyone, including her teammates, believes that she is... Like, all of her teammates believe that she's 22.
Yeah.
Because she just said that she was. So I think it's just a really cool film because it's just following this girl who actually has a dream and goes against being in her like little small town in Texas. She wants to move out and do something better with her life. Yeah,
and it's like a buddy comedy between her and her team that she meets.
Yeah, it's between her and her actual best friend, but also her and her team.
Yeah. And her and her mum and her parents as well in some ways.
Oh yeah, her and her dad are real bros.
Yeah.
So this movie is written by Shauna Cross, who is actually a former roller derby skater with the Los Angeles Derby Dolls, and she skated under the name Maggie Mayhem, which is Kristen Wiig's character. That character's name. But her team was full of rogue cops called the Sirens, and many of the team's skaters' names and plot lines are inspired by her actual teammates.
Huh.
And as I said, Bliss lies, saying that she's 22 when she's actually 17, but Elliot Page was 22 at the time of filming.
Okay.
So it's like, I guess that's why you can make it almost believable that that there's the 5-year difference, as if your face doesn't change.
But she did also look very young. That's why she was cast as a lot of like teens when she was actually an adult.
Yeah. And Elliot Page also turned down being in the film Drag Me to Hell to be in this film.
Good.
Yeah. Because this film was much better.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Drag Me to Hell, but Whip It is great. And also, despite being in film since she was 5 years old, this was Drew Barrymore's first time directing.
Yeah.
So she was in film since she was 5.
That's mad.
She wasn't a child actor, she was a baby actor. And then it took her all this time, and that's why she's not in the film as much as...
Yeah.
She's
just like a bit part in it, essentially. Yeah. She's in it multiple times, though. The whole way through, it's just not as any of the main characters, necessarily.
The most manic out of all of them, because she doesn't care about having a life.
She's like the comedic relief, essentially.
Yeah, she is just insane, and she's just something else in this. I just really like it. Should I take another one since you had both your...
Depends how many more you got left, because I've got quite a few more left, I think. I've got like 4 left.
2, 3, 4.
4 or 5. I might have 5.
I've got 4.5.
4.5?
Yes. So it's up to you.
I'll take one, because I feel like I might have a few more than you. Right, so my next one, continuing with the Kevin Smith train, obviously.
Right.
This is Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Okay.
Which came out in 2001. So it's about... it's written and directed by Kevin Smith, obviously, and written by Kevin Smith, again, obviously. Stars Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith, obviously, Jay and Silent Bob. It also features the usual View Askew cast, Ben Affleck, Kevin's wife Jen, Jason Lee, Jeff Anderson, Brian O'Halloran, etc., etc. But it also has... Will Ferrell, Judd Nelson, George Carlin, Carrie Fisher, Sean William Scott, bit parts from Chris Rock, Tracy Morgan, Mark Hamill, Harley Quinn Smith, and tons of other people. It's possibly the best cast for a film ever made. Like, that's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
It's got Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher in it.
Yeah.
Also, they didn't realise that both of them were in the film until they finished filming. Because they weren't in it at the same time.
Yeah.
They didn't realise that both of them were in the film. It was the first film that they were both in since they did Star Wars.
Nice.
Which is mad. So it's about a comic, Blunt Man and Chronic, which is now a real comic, man, that was hard to say, which is based on the real-life stoners Jay and Silent Bob. And when they don't get any profit from that, from the big screen adaptation of it, because they're trying to make a movie from that comic, they then set out to go find the people doing it and wreck the movie. Right?
Understandable.
Yeah. So it's kind of, it's a tale of like an open road adventure when Dante and Randall get a restraining order on Jay and Silent Bob. And so they can't sell drugs in front of the Quick Stop convenience store anymore, and then they have to find a new purpose, which is when they then get informed by Brody, who is Brody from Mallrats, played by Jason Lee, informs them that the movie's being made about their characters and their likenesses. So they visit the creator, Holden McNeil, which again is a character from another View Askew universe film, played by Ben Affleck. And they find out, they find out that people were slandering them on the internet, despite the fact they don't know what the internet is. So they end up like hitchhiking.
Don't they go into movies to use the computers?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's loads of references to other films. But yeah, it's basically just their journey to try and stop this movie from being made. And along their journey, they end up learning lessons about hitchhiking from George Carlin. They ride with a group of gorgeous jewel thieves, one of them being Kevin's wife. They incur the wrath of a hapless wildlife marshal for liberating an orangutan named Suzanne. And that the wildlife marshal was Will Ferrell. And then they go from New Jersey to Hollywood. And then they get into a police showdown They also meet the filmmakers of Black Man and Chronic. Loads of stuff happens, basically. It's massive.
Yeah.
The voice of Scooby-Doo in it was provided by Mark Hamill.
Oh.
Don't ask why the voice of Scooby-Doo in it. There's lots of mad shit in it. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon mentioned that one of the reasons to do a film is because they owed the director a favour. This happens in the film. They both mentioned that, right?
Yeah.
And it was the writer and director Kevin Smith who brought the script of Good Will Hunting to the attention of the producer Harvey Weinstein at Miramax and suggested for Ben and Matt to do the thing. So if it wasn't for Kevin Smith, Good Will Hunting wouldn't have been made.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shame Harvey Weinstein was involved.
Yeah, well, he's involved in a lot of stuff at Miramax. he made loads of good films, even though he's a dick. And again, Baby Silent Bob was played by Harley Quinn Smith, Kevin's daughter. Right, so on Kevin's podcast, he basically said that this movie was a nightmare to make because Jay Muse was suffering from really bad drug and alcohol abuse. So during pre-production, they had to spend like inordinate amounts of time keeping Muse off drugs while shooting. Muse would have constant mood swings due to heroin withdrawal, to the point that Smith actually threw him out of his car on the way to set one day. Muse would then compensate for his lack of drugs by drinking heavily after every day of shooting. And he also nearly got into a fist fight with Scott Mosier when he had to come back one night for a reshoot while drunk. And Muse later said that he was too intoxicated to even remember anything happening. The abuse got to the point where Smith had to threaten shutting down the project immediately, after which Muse managed to stay clean through to finish production. Smith then invited him to live with his family in California, where Muse stole Smith's money to buy heroin. So Kevin checked him into rehab and told him point blank to get sober or he'd never speak to him again. He also promised him that if he stayed off drugs, they would write another movie for him to play Jay. Which is where Clerks 2 was made. And he's still sober to this day.
Yeah.
So, hell yeah. And they're still like best friends to this day as well. This was the first... Yeah, this is what I mentioned earlier. This is the first film that Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill appeared in since Star Wars Return of the Jedi. And neither of them knew about it. Also, my usual, the word fuck is used 248 times.
God, I didn't think we was going to go past what Superbad had.
Oh, we go past. Also, when the Jewel Thieves get their pizza, the name of the pizza place is Joe's Marvelous Pizza. The man delivering the pizza is Joe Quesada, which is the editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. And during the theatrical run of Scary Movie 2 in 2001, many people bought tickets for the film simply to see the trailer for this film. And then after the trailer ran, they would leave. Also, David Duchovny originally called Kevin Smith and told him that he wanted the role of Cockknocker. Smith gave him the role, but unfortunately, when it was time to start shooting, Duchovny was already filming Evolution, which is my favourite film with him.
Yeah.
So he couldn't make it, and then Mark Hamill came in to be the replacement. It would have been awesome as David Duchovny, but then Mark Hamill playing it was even fucking cooler.
So, like, I'm assuming he was already in for the Scooby-Doo.
Yeah,
and then
I think so.
I just imagine him being there, like, oh, that guy dropped out.
I'll play this. I'll play this big ass character, which is hilarious and like a parody, especially as a Star Wars parody the whole way through.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is literally like 1,000 references throughout this film, mostly to Jaws and Good Will Hunting and Batman. But also all of the other View Askew films. And there is also a ridiculous amount of comic references too. Like, the reason why I love this film so much, as well as Kevin's films in general, is there's just so many clever little references to other films, or big references, and mentions even of other films and comics and stuff like that.
I like the idea of Batman being one of the most referenced films in that.
Yeah.
Or Ben Affleck's just like,
Yeah. That's the thing.
Kevin Smith's just out here planting seeds in his head.
Yeah. It really is. It's just such a good film. And obviously it's a buddy comedy because it's about Jay and Silent Bob, these buddies going on an adventure together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one more Kevin Smith film to talk about after this, but I'll let you have one.
Right. So I'm going quite far away from where you are.
Okay.
Again. Like, this one's probably the furthest away I can get. So this is Pitch Perfect.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
But as I will say, like, it is a buddy comedy because it's about Anna Kendrick making this, like, misfit group of friends with a bunch of girls in a girl group, a girl a cappella group.
Yeah, it was really confusing the way you said that. Can you...
But just basically, she joins a all-girls a cappella group.
And is
which
trying to be friends with them.
and she doesn't want to be with them, but she got told by her dad, who's helping her pay for college, if she doesn't make any friends or join any groups, he won't let her be in the... He won't let her stay in the school.
And they want her to be there because she's really good.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's them trying to force her to be friends with
and
them.
she also is a music fan. What she wants to do is be a DJ or a producer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because she produces a Snoop Dogg thing, doesn't she? In
the second one,
yeah,
she is an intern as Snoop Dogg's trying to write a Christmas album.
Yeah, I'd definitely pay to hear that.
So yeah, it's like all she knows in the film is that she doesn't want to be in a clique, which she then ends up basically doing as she joins this all-girls group, which is... It has been known for always being filled with hot girls, and there's always like a massive list of people who want to be a part of it, but they failed the year before, like they lost the competition the year before, and basically became a joke of the a cappella community.
Yeah. Because the main person is like a pretentious bitch and she threw up everywhere, right?
Because Skylar Astin's character has this condition where she projectile vomits when she's nervous.
Wait, Skylar Astin?
I think...
Is she related to... is it Shaun Astin?
Let's find out.
She's got to be, right?
Oh no, that was the wrong person. I got the name completely wrong.
Oh, Skylar Astin's a dude in it?
Yeah, sorry.
Is he related to...
No.
The other thing? Oh. Completely...
Not Skylar Astin. I got that completely wrong. I can't remember who it was that plays it. But yeah, like the main girl, like the leader of the a cappella group, threw up all over the audience at her last show.
Yeah.
So they became the joke of the a cappella community, which is saying something considering it's an a cappella community. But yeah, the groups really, like, they work really well together, but they're constantly doing very traditional, boring arrangements.
Yeah.
Whereas Becca is like, no, we need to be doing something upbeat, we need to be doing something modern, we need to be doing something interesting, for God's sake.
Yeah. Like everyone else in the competition.
Yeah, and they're constantly like, oh no, we can't do that. And then, after a lot of fighting and nearly getting kicked out of the competition because they lost on, like, the first round of, like, I don't know how it works in these kind of competitions.
Yeah, like the preliminaries.
Yeah, like the preliminaries. They basically got kicked out, but because another group...
dropped out.
Well, they didn't even drop out. Like, they got banned because one of the people wasn't actually a college student anymore.
Okay.
So they got banned because... so then their group got brought back in. And then they end up winning because they finally start listening to Becca, so like Anna Kendrick's character. But yeah, so it's actually just quite... I think it's a fun film, like, very chick flicky.
Yeah,
and
it's super cringy, but it's not a bad film.
Yeah,
like,
it's cringy in the kind of way where you're like, oh, I don't mind this because I know that it's not meant to be.
I mean, the sequels are shit.
Oh yeah, the sequels.
I can't stand the sequels. I tried, but no.
Haven't even seen the third one.
I think we tried watching it at some point. No.
But yeah, so Adam Devine, who plays what was like the ex-leader of the boy group that they compete against.
Okay.
Yeah, hard to explain, but like he used to be the leader of the boy group, but then he left to go become like a superstar or something because he got like an acting job. So he was like, I'm out. But he thought that Pitch Perfect was a baseball movie. You could understand why he would think this. So he wasn't prepared to sing at his audition. But then when they asked him to sing just any song, so they could just carry on with the audition, he chose to sing the Full House theme song. And then they were still impressed, so they hired him anyway.
Okay.
And Elizabeth Banks plays one of the commentators of the show.
Yeah.
Of the competition.
And she's like stupidly sexist and stuff, right?
Yeah, well no, the guy's sexist and she's just there playing along. Like, just like, oh great. But yeah, she didn't intend on being in the film because she's a producer in the film. But Kristen Wiig, who was supposed to be doing it, couldn't do it. So then last minute, Elizabeth Banks was like, well, I'm here. Okay. I'll do the role if you need.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense because it as a role, it doesn't fit her that well, and it does fit Kristen Wiig. That makes perfect sense that she was meant to do it.
And And also, the scene where Anna Kendrick and Brittany Snow are in the shower together.
Yeah. Best scene of the film.
They were actually completely naked.
Good to know.
Yeah, so at first they were, like, really nervous, but the atmosphere was really hot and humid because they had, like, all of the steam in the room and everything. So then they got just so comfortable with just each other as well that they became perfectly fine being naked, and even between the breaks between reshooting their scene, they just wouldn't even put on their robes anymore. They were just walking around completely nude.
Man, what I'd give to be a cameraman.
Don't say stuff like that.
What?
Yeah, I just think it's fun to think of them just both, like, just standing there together, like, oh.
It certainly is fun to think of it, Tony. You said it.
Stop being so rude. But yeah, Pitch Perfect, chick flick, buddy comedy. A little bit of romance, but it's not the main plot. It's about
I'm glad we finished on the nudity.
It's about the friends you make along the way.
Okay, so I'll talk about my final Kevin Smith film.
Right.
And then we'll go into the Cornetto trilogy and the other Simon Pegg Nick Frost film. This one is Mallrats. Came out in 1995. Again, directed and written by Kevin Smith. Stars Shannon Doherty as Renee, Jeremy London as T.S., Jason Lee as Brody, Claire Filani as Brandy, Ben Affleck as Shannon, Joey Lauren Adams as Gwen. Also, Jay Muse and Kevin Smith as, you know, who do you fucking think? And also Ethan Suplee. Also, it has Stan fucking Lee in it. And some other great actors.
You're allowed to say fucking when talking about Stanley because it's his favourite swear word.
Exactly. So it's about Brody Bruce, who is a Sega and comic book obsessed college student, and his best friend, T.S. Quint. They both get dumped by their girlfriends on the same day, and to deal with their loss, they go to the local mall. Along the way, they meet up with some friends, including William, who is a guy that stares at Magic Eye pictures. That's Ethan Suplee. And basically Ethan's character is desperately trying to see the hidden image, but can't the whole way through the film. They also meet up with Gwen, one of T.S.'s ex-girlfriends, who is Joey Lauren Adams, who is just ridiculously hot. Who else? What was I? Oh yeah, and Jay and Silent Bob of Clerks fame. Eventually they decide, and this is before Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was made as well. Eventually they decide to try and win back their significant others and take care of their respective nemesis, who is one of them being T.S.'s girlfriend's father, and the other one being a store clerk who hates the two of them for not having any shopping agenda, and that's Ben Affleck. It's just a brilliant film. Like, it's a really cleverly written film. Had quite a high budget compared to the Kevin Smith films previously, or the one previous film, because I think it was only Clerks that was made before. So Brody's comic book collection, which is seen in the movie at the beginning, was actually Kevin Smith's collection at the time, which has grown considerably since, apparently, which doesn't surprise me. He owns a comic book store. The collection is also what Smith was the only stuff that he was able to purchase back after selling the original collection for financing Clerks.
Yeah. He said.
So while shopping, Renee Mosier, who plays Shannon Doherty, is seen wearing at least 3 different outfits in the same day. That's because Doherty had a clause in her contract that she could keep everything that her character wore, so came up with the plan that her character should wear everything that she bought on her shopping trip. Also, the studio almost replaced Jay Muse with Seth Green. Kevin Smith insisted that Muse should play Jay, but the studio made Smith take auditions for the role. Breckenmeyer also auditioned, but in the end, everyone concerned was like, no, okay, Jay is right for the part, he needs to play it. It would have been stupid to replace Jay Muse as Jay, because it makes no sense. The film takes place only a day before Clerks. So it was actually made the day before the Clerks film.
Huh.
Even though it was released a year after the film came out. Well, a few years after. Brody's shirt, the design on it, is the faces of all of the actors that auditioned for the role of Brody morphed together. So that's just clever. So at the end is this big game show, which is kind of what the whole thing is like ending with. One of the game show contestants is named Gil Hicks, who's played by Brian O'Halloran, which is a reference to Dante Hicks, also played by him. And the characters are supposed to be cousins.
Nice.
Brody is named after the main character in Jaws, which is a favourite of Kevin's films. and he obviously frequently references it. And his surname is Bruce, which was the nickname given to the animatronic shark in the Jaws film franchise. Kevin Smith's so nerdy. Also, so Stan Lee initially didn't want to be in the film as himself because he felt the dialogue wasn't something that he would say. Kevin Smith responded that it was just pretend. So Stan Lee was just like, okay, Spider Friend. That's literally what he said. Stan Lee is honestly one of my all-time heroes. What a fucking legend. But yeah, it's such a good buddy film because you've got the buddy film aspect of, you know, Brody and TS, but you also have Jay and Silent Bob, and there's others just friend kind of things built in. And it's just such a good film.
I can agree with that.
That's the end of my Kevin Smith monologue. I've got a bunch more. I think I've got 4 more, possibly 3 more.
Right.
3 more, yeah. I've got two out of the 3 of the Cornetto trilogy, because I know you have one.
Yeah.
And then I have an extra Simon Pegg and Nick Frost film to talk about. So,
okay.
Do you want to take your next one?
Yes. So I have spoken about this film before, because it is in my top 10 favourite films of all time.
Oh, yeah. So, a couple of these, though.
Oh, yeah. But it is a buddy comedy, so I thought I'd bring it back in.
Yeah. Plus, we spoke about our favourite films in our first ever episode.
Yeah, which is
Most of you haven't
only
seen
on
that.
YouTube. If you haven't heard it, it's because it's probably only on YouTube. You can find it there. We unfortunately don't have it on Spotify or any of the other.
Nah. I'm sure you'll get over it.
Yeah. if you really want to listen, it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zombieland 1 and 2, because they are both buddy comedies.
Yeah.
So starring Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, Woody Harrelson, and Abigail Breslin, and to be honest, not a lot more people until you get to the second one, the sequel, which only gets better because it has Rosario Dawson in it.
Exactly. Rosario Dawson makes everything better, but you're also forgetting the most important person in the whole film.
Oh yeah.
Bill fucking Murray.
Okay, Jesus. But yes, and also Bill Murray. So if you don't know what Zombieland is, it's pretty much self-explanatory.
The land of zombies.
Yes, a virus turns most people into zombies, and then the world's surviving humans are trying to stay surviving.
Yeah.
And then these 4 survivors all come across each other and, just try and try and survive together because they don't see any reason why not to.
Yeah.
Because other than the fact that quite a lot at the time they lie to each other and such. Possibly try and kill each other, and the amount of times guns have been pointed at each other is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's just classic Friends.
All in a comedic way.
Yeah. So, this one thing about these films that I didn't know, is it was actually meant to be a TV show.
That makes sense.
The entire film is actually the TV show pilot, and then it was rewritten to be a film. And with that in mind, they had the zombie kill of the week in the show. That was actually meant to be in the TV show as a recurring thing at the end of every episode.
That would be awesome. Why did they not... They should have made it into a TV show.
I think it was that they couldn't find anyone to be in it or to direct it. They just couldn't find the right way to actually get it done. And then Ruben Fleischer found the script, and he was like, yeah, sure, I'll make this film.
Yeah.
Because he thought it seemed like a great concept. Anyway, this is one of the first films that first zombie films, or at least in the most modern zombie films, to actually explain what caused the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
Whereas most usually just leave it down to, it just started and we don't know why. This one actually says it's someone ate a burger that was infected.
Yeah.
And then it was just it started as mad cow disease, and then that turned into mad human disease. Yeah. And then here we are now. So, as we already said, Bill Murray's in it.
Yeah.
But that was a cameo that was actually offered to a couple of other people.
Okay.
So it was just a matter of finding who was going to do it. So they actually wanted Patrick Swayze.
Oh, that would have been mad.
But they off. I think they like reached out to him, but this was just around the time that he got his cancer diagnosis. So he couldn't be in it because he was too sick.
Makes
but
sense.
what they wanted was to get a lot of like Ghost and Dirty Dancing references within the film. That's why they wanted him. They also offered it to Mark Hamill.
Yeah. I imagine he was just busy, otherwise he definitely would have done it.
He probably was just busy. Or they probably had already had Bill Murray agree to it before. Thing. And they also thought about getting Dwayne Johnson.
That would have been stupid.
Imagine just the film being exactly the same, but with Dwayne Johnson.
It wouldn't be anywhere near as good.
Yeah, so I just think it's quite cool that they did actually have other people that they wanted, but they did just originally want them just to be a cameo. They wanted someone to play themselves for the cameo.
Yeah.
Emma Stone was originally cast to be the neighbour, like Jesse Eisenberg's neighbour.
Yeah, was that just at the beginning?
Yeah, just at the beginning, which shows like how he first found out about the virus, which was his neighbour comes in and is like, this homeless guy just...
Oh. Same, Tony.
And she comes and is like, oh, this homeless guy just bit me, and she's all like shaken up.
Yeah.
Shooken up. But yeah, and then after just a bit, they just decided that she should actually be in the film rather than just playing the neighbour, because it was like, yeah, she would be great for this role. So then she just got recast as her, and then
That's the love interest.
yeah, which. Yes, it does include romance in the film, but they are still...
It's mostly just a group of friends,
it's mostly just the guys trying to figure out how to
Unlikely
survive
buddies.
together. Yeah. A criticism of the film, which they got just after it came... Like, the film got released, was that every single drop of blood was done in CGI. So,
Yeah,
like,
it's a bit stupid.
has a lot of, like, blood splatters and everything,
Yeah.
and because they didn't have the... I guess they didn't have the budget to keep...
No, it wouldn't be budget.
Yeah, like...
They just chose to do CGI.
Yeah, or they didn't have someone who could get, like, they couldn't find someone to do the actual, like, effects of it, so they was just like, we'll just do it as CGI. So they got criticised in that, which in the second one they changed.
Yeah.
To use actual special effects, which is one thing that, Woody Harrelson got quite hands-on involved with, which is in the second film when someone throws up, he saw the bit and he was like, no, that vomit doesn't look realistic enough.
Yeah.
So he then told them that it needs to have a thicker consistency and it needs to be chunkier.
Like,
and
he was just the vomit consultant.
Yeah, so he was actually consulting on whether or not the vomit effects were good enough.
I'd like to drink with Woody Harrelson.
Oh,
Or smoke.
Yeah.
Or anything with Woody Harrelson, really.
Just like to hang out.
Yeah.
And also, even though Woody Harrelson's character is on a constant, like, his entire goal now is to kill zombies and find a Twinkie, because he has a craving for Twinkies. But Woody Harrelson is actually a vegan.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say set designers. They had to make fake Twinkies for him to eat because he couldn't eat them because they actually have eggs and beef fat in them.
They have all sorts because they're fucking disgusting.
Yeah, they are. So they had to make fake Twinkies out of cornmeal for the scene for him.
Yeah.
I just think that's quite nice that they had to make special ones for him.
Yeah. Well, it's not really... When they're making a film with that much of a budget, I don't think that's really a big deal.
Yeah. But it's just such a weird, specific thing. Like they could have, to make it easier, they could have just changed what it is that they wanted it.
I guess,
what him to, like, crave.
When it's so, like, American idolized, like, thing.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And also, there is that whole, like, thing about Twinkies last forever, so that makes, I guess, a bit more sense. But yeah. Zombieland is such a great film. And obviously, the second one has more people in it.
Yeah.
They have, like, that, I can't remember her name, but, like, the really, like, dumb girl in it.
Yeah, I don't know the actress who plays her. She's not that big of an actress.
Yeah, I think she's supposed to be, like, an up-and-coming actress.
Okay. I mean, she was good in it, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And Rosario Dawson.
Yeah, Rosario Dawson. What else do you need to hear?
And Elvis references.
Okay, I'll take the next one.
Right.
This is Paul.
Nice.
Paul came out in 2011. It's the only Simon Pegg and Nick Frost film on this list that isn't made by Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
And it was actually directed by Greg Mottola, the same person who made Superbad. So that's why it's so good. And why it also has Seth Rogen in it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I love. I mean, I love all of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost films because they're British and they're massive like sci-fi and comic book nerds. So I just like relate big time, and the movies are always full of references to both sci-fi and comics, and it's just really relatable to me, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're funny guys. So it's essentially about two English comic book nerds who are traveling across the US, trying to like do like the classic alien route, like the sci-fi, like going to the mailbox and Area 51, all these different things.
Yeah.
And they end up encountering an alien outside Area 51 who is voiced by Seth Rogen. The film also features Jeffrey Tambor, Jane Lynch, Jason Bateman, Sigourney Weaver, Bill Hader, Joe Truglio, Kristen Wiig, and also the voice of Steven Spielberg. It's pretty intense. So Simon Pegg and Nick Frost came up with the idea for the concept of Paul while waiting There was waiting for a rainstorm to end while they were on the set of Shaun of the Dead.
Oh.
And they handed the producer, Nira Park, a sketch drawing of Paul wearing an FBI t-shirt, flipping off the viewer with a caption that read, "In the US, everybody is an alien." And the actual drawing can actually be seen during the closing credits of the film. So they made this film to demonstrate their love for Steven Spielberg's science fiction classics, so Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T., etc. And when Spielberg got wind of the project, he happily suggested that he make a cameo appearance of some sort. In this case, he was the voice on a speakerphone. While researching the film, Simon and Nick drove an RV along the route that Clive and Graham take in the script, and during the trip, they stopped at a little place called Alien Inn, or Alien or something. And there they encountered a chatty waitress and some belligerent locals. So that encounter inspired them to include that in the script, which is a main part of their thing.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah. And during the sequence in the comic shop, there is an issue of The Boys, which is now a TV series, but it's also been a comic for ages. And that can be seen on one of the racks. And the comic's main character, Huey Campbell, was intentionally drawn to look like Simon Pegg. Also, Pegg wrote the introduction for the first collected edition of The Boys, and he also later appeared in the TV adaptation and of the graphic novels, which is on Amazon Prime, which we spoke about before. It's a great show. Also, in the scene where Paul is talking to Steven Spielberg on the phone, Paul is calling from a huge room that looks like the warehouse where the Ark of the Covenant was stored at the ending of Raiders of the Lost Ark in 1981. In an interview, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost mentioned that making a big-budget studio film, like Paul, or in this case Paul itself, it was more expensive than making Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz put together. There was also a need for compromise because the studio had a say in the filmmaking process, whereas before it was basically all just them. For instance, they originally felt that an older actor like Jack Nicholson or Rip Torn would have been ideal for the voice of the title character, so Paul.
Yeah.
But then they suggested Seth Rogen, and they liked the idea because it was such a distinguishable voice.
Yeah.
And it was like the antithesis of what Paul actually looked like.
Yeah.
The scene where Agent Zoyle, played by Jason Bateman, is in the car and is talking to the big guy, played by Sigourney Weaver, on the radio, and he ends up ending the call by shooting the radio and then saying "boring conversation anyway," is a direct reference from Star Wars: A New Hope, where Han Solo shoots the radio and says that same line. Also, in the scene at Ray's Roadhouse Bar, the house band is playing the Cantina song from A New Hope. There's so many like big references like that. When Agent Haggard is chasing Paul near the movie's ending, he tries to shoot at the RV. He fires a shot at him and says, "Smile, you son of a bitch." This is another Steven Spielberg thing, which is actually, in this case, in Jaws.
Yeah, I knew that one.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. Also, there's in the film there's the odd presence of sailors in the bar fight, even though it's in Wyoming, which is a direct reference to a line in David Bowie's song "Life on Mars." Take a look at those sailors fighting in the dance hall. Ooh man, look at those cavemen go. Alternatively, it's also an in-joke about the presence of sailors in seemingly all of the bar fights in Steven Spielberg's 1941.
Right.
So there's just loads of Spielberg references. This was also originally intended to be a reunion for Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and Edgar Wright after the success of Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, but Wright was busy making Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. So Greg Mottola was approached instead. And Pegg and Frost were fans of Mottola's work, like Day Trippers and Superbad.
Yeah.
What else have I got? Oh, yeah. When Agent Zoil says people have accidents all the time, it's a clear reference to Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
Also, hiding their RV behind their pursuers, behind the billboard, is directly a reference to Back to the Future, where Marty McFly hides a DeLorean behind a billboard.
Yeah.
There's loads of clever references like that, and that's what I love about this film. It's just loads of really clever sci-fi references. So yeah, that's all I've got to say about Paul. And how many have you got left? 2. All right, go ahead.
So I'm gonna start off your next 2 and talk about my what most people disagree with, but it's my favorite. Of the Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah. It's my least favourite of the Cornetto trilogy, but I still love it.
So,
I've got the other... That's literally the other 2 I'm talking about. You're talking about this one, which is the newest one, and then I'm going to talk about the other 2.
Yep. So, this is The World's End.
Brilliant.
Obviously starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Yeah.
But also, other actors involved include Martin Freeman and Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
And of course, it's directed by Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
So this came out in 2013, which is the last of the Cornetto trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So what it is Gary King, played by Simon Pegg, is an immature 40-year-old who wants to take another stab at an epic pub crawl that he last attempted 20 years earlier with his friends. So he drags all of his old friends back to their hometown to set on this night of going out drinking to complete I can't think of what they call it.
Yeah.
They call it, isn't it the Golden Mile?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, like the Golden Mile, which ends at the World's End pub. While he also is trying to reconcile with his friends and be a better person.
Because all of his friends have grown up and got their own lives.
All of them have office
like
jobs and stuff, and he's still out just getting drunk, not doing anything.
And he's kind of a bum.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's trying to kind of make them all as if they were kids again.
Yeah, but then throughout the film, they end up having to basically fight for mankind as aliens. It is aliens.
Yeah.
That's what it is, aliens. As aliens are trying to take over the world, and pretty much it's just him and his team of friends. It's their job to save the world.
Yeah, pretty much.
So for the first time in their career working together, this was Simon Pegg and Nick Frost swapping the type of roles that they play.
Yeah. Because
usually Simon Pegg's playing the uptight, trying to just get on with his life kind of role.
Yeah.
And Nick Frost is a complete bum. For an exact example would be the other 2 in the corner.
Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead.
So yeah, Nick Frost plays I think he gets his family's law firm, he's trying to work on something like that. It's a family business that he's trying to carry on doing, and he's just oh no, I can't drink. Oh, isn't he? He's also a recovering alcoholic or something. I don't know. He wants to get his life together and doesn't like Gary King anymore because
he's a bad influence.
He's a bad influence. One thing that I think is really clever about this film is that all of the characters' surnames have royalty or court connections. So Gary King, Andy Knightley, Peter Page, Stephen Prince, and Oliver Chamberlain.
Yeah.
And they also acknowledge that a bit later on when... I can't remember who it was. I think it was when Oliver Chamberlain comes in. All of them say hi. Except Gary King, because the role of the king would not talk to that person. They wouldn't greet him.
Yeah.
So in actual royal scenarios, they actually keep up with that kind of
hierarchy
that they have.
Yeah.
Which I just think is pretty cool. Sorry, just looking at what I had wrote here. So yeah, this is the final of the Cornetto trilogy, which you are going to carry on talking about, but I'll just mention about how the how the Cornetto trilogy works.
Yeah.
So all of the characters are seen at some point with a cornetto, or at least the cornetto is seen within the film.
Yeah.
And each of them actually represents something within the film. So for this one, it's the mint chocolate chip cornetto.
Yeah.
With
a green wrapper.
Yeah, with a green wrapper, which represents the science fiction and extraterrestrial elements. For Shaun of the Dead, it's the strawberry flavour, which has a red packaging, symbolising the zombies and the blood.
Yeah.
And in Hot Fuzz, it was blue and vanilla, symbolising the police.
Yeah.
I just think that's such a cool, smart thing, considering like it's an unofficial trilogy, but
it was it was originally unintended, but then they kept it going, and they kept like themes running throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was filmed in Dorking, Surrey, which is not far from here.
No, it's not. Mad.
And during filming, several residents of the local town phoned the fire brigade because they thought that a local park was on fire, and they had to keep. So they the fire brigade had to like get in touch with them and also all of the local people and be like, it's actually just a film.
Yeah.
Shooting locally that is doing this, which I think is quite interesting. Like, it seems like such a small little town, and it's like I didn't think of it as being a little place in Surrey.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense, like a little cult town.
Yeah. And this is the second out of the one of the two out of the trilogy to feature an ex-James Bond in the cast.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Hot Fuzz that features a different one of the ex-James ones.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's just pretty cool.
It is a really good film. And also, the best quote ever is just like, fuck off, you big lamp. Gary King saying it to a fucking alien.
That quote comes into my head so often.
It's brilliant.
I think it is one of the best. I think it is the best one out of the trilogy, but it's probably because it's my first one that I watched.
Because you're insane.
I don't know. I just somehow.
I watched them in the order they were released, like a normal human being.
I understand that. So, would you like to talk about the other two now?
I will. Well, I'll talk about one of them.
Right.
Wait, have you got any more left?
I've only got one left.
Okay. Right, so I'll talk about. I'll talk about Shaun of the Dead first. Came out in 2004. I love it not only because I am, named for it. So directed by Edgar Wright, and it was written by Simon Pegg, obviously. Stars Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, Kate Ashfield, Lucy Davis, Dylan Moran. Dylan Moran, by the way, is one of the best stand-up comedians of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Nicola Cunningham, Peter Serafinowicz, Bill Nye, etc. So it's basically about Shaun not having a very good day, so he decides to turn his life around by getting his ex back. Unfortunately, the zombie apocalypse has just started. And he doesn't realise that until it's a bit too late. But he sees it as an opportunity to show everyone he knows that he is useful and he's going to save them all. So he's going to survive and get his ex back. It's the best zombie movie ever made, in my opinion. It's the first part of Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright's Cornetto trilogy, the other two being obviously Hot Fuzz and The World's End. George A. Romero, who is the creator of Zombies, is like it pays homage to him basically the whole way through with loads of different references to him. But he was so impressed with the film that he asked them to cameo in Land of the Dead, which came out in 2005 as zombies.
Nice.
He was also given a private viewing of the movie near his house in Florida. And during the scene in which Ed, played by Nick Frost, yells into the phone, "We're coming to get you, Barbara," which is a direct quote from Night of the Living Dead, he didn't even realise it and later got told with a conversation with Edgar Wright. When asked by an interviewer why they chose to have slow-moving zombies instead of fast-running zombies, Simon Pegg simply replied, "Because death is not an energy drink."
Yeah.
Fair enough. Many of the zombie extras are fans of Spaced, which is the first thing Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and Edgar Wright made together, and it's a brilliant TV show. You should definitely watch it. And they were actually recruited through the Spaced fan website.
I don't know if you wrote this down, because I think I actually saw this. The whole of Shaun of the Dead was actually based off of an episode of Spaced. Yeah,
it was based off of the zombie episode in Spaced, yeah.
So they did that and then was like, hey, let's just make a whole film of this. Yeah, sorry.
So when Sean, Liz, David, Diane, Barbara, and Ed run into the alternative gang when they're making their way to the Winchester, there are quite a few comedy partnerships brought together. So like they're parallel. So you've got Simon Pegg and Jessica Hines, who are Tim and Daisy from Spaced.
Yep.
Then you've got Lucy Davies and Martin Freeman, who are Dawn and Tim from The Office. Then you've got Dylan Moran and Tamsin Greig, who are Bernard and Fran from Black Books. Then you've got Julia Deakin and Nick Frost, who are, of course, in Spaced too, as Marsha and Mike. It's just mad. Like, it's just such a clever way of doing it. And they're all acting like they're the same kind. They're playing the same role in their group of friends. Also, the day of the zombie invasion, when Sean walks to the corner shop and doesn't notice zombies in the streets and the corpses all over, the whole scene was shot in one long, unbroken take.
Yeah.
I fucking love when films do that. Edgar Wright's so good at doing it. Quentin Tarantino dubbed this as one of the top 20 movies made since 1992.
Nice.
And I would agree. When the group are in the Winchester pub and Sean has returned from distracting the zombies, David questions his motives as to why they are in a pub. He refers to Ed as Sean's boyfriend, and Ed hands Sean a beer, he replies with, "Thanks, babe." This is a common conversation which happens between the two in Spaced. At one point, there's a zombie which appears and he's wearing a yellow cycling helmet and lycra shorts, and he's played by comedian Michael Smiley, who appeared in Spaced in the same outfit as a bicycle courier named Tyres. So he's literally the same character in it.
Nice.
Also, as this is the first part of the unofficial Cornetto trilogy, you know, the Red Rapper makes the appearance in this movie. According to Edgar Wright, it's for the blood. I wrote down the same thing that you told me. Throughout this movie as well, homage is paid to several aspects of Capcom's original Resident Evil game series, which is played in Spaced as well.
Yeah.
And there's a vivid example being, there's a scene in the pub cellar where there's a switch to activate the lift, which is only made visible by activating a lighter.
Yeah.
Same that happens in the game too. When the zombies are making their way into the Winchester, Sean shouts to Ed, "Get behind me, get behind me," which is in exactly the same way Han Solo shouts to Chewbacca as stormtroopers are entering the cell block in Star Wars A New Hope, one of Simon Pegg's favourite movies, which is why they reference it all the time.
Yeah.
I just love the film. Like, all of the shots and dialogue are so well written, and it's witty, and there's like just a billion references to other films and zombie movies and games and stuff. It's just so clever.
See, thinking about the trilogy, I think I might actually just, like, I don't know, maybe once I handed in all of my work at uni, just do like a whole marathon, just watch all of them, spend a day just doing nothing.
I am 100% down.
Watching the trilogy. Because even just talking about Shaun and Toni, I'm like, actually, it's just such a sick film.
Yeah, they're brilliant. I'll talk about Hot Fuzz after you've spoken about your last one.
Alright, my last one is by far the oldest film that is on our list.
Oh, okay.
And I don't understand how it didn't get onto my favourite films of all time, because when I think about it, it is.
Oh, you're talking big here.
It is. But it's also, like, I know by most people's standards it's a bad film, but I don't care. This came out in 1980.
Okay.
And it's 9 to 5.
Oh, God.
Starring Dolly Parton, Lily Tomlin, and Jane Fonda.
Yeah.
What a trio. Directed by Colin Higgins. It is an office satire about 3 female secretaries who decide to get revenge on their tyrannical, sexist boss by abducting him and running the business themselves.
Okay.
So,
like an early feminist film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The trio, one of whom has been passed over for a promotion because she is a woman. These 3 women spend the night together having drug-induced fantasies of killing their boss.
Oh.
And then one of them panics the next day when she thinks that she might have accidentally killed him.
Oh, how? What do you mean?
So she buys rat poison for her house.
Yeah.
And conveniently, the rat poison looks very similar to the sugar packaging that they have.
Oh, okay.
So they're both in the same cupboard, and she can't remember which one she put in his drink. And then, next thing you know, she can't find her boss. Like, he's just gone missing.
Okay.
So she's like, oh no. So she thinks that she's killed him in the exact way that she said she would have in her drug-induced fantasy.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh no, what are we gonna do? And then they end up finding after they've been, like, keeping things on track for a little bit at the office and making sure everything's okay. They end up finding their boss and then tying him up in his own house.
Okay.
To keep him out of the way for the business. Oh.
As you were saying.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hold that down. Yeah, so, like, he ends up getting stuck in his, like, tied up in his house, and they keep going over to, like, check up on him while they're running the business and just signing everything in his name.
Yeah.
And they make so many, like, wonderful changes where everyone's actually better. Like, if you are a working mum, you get to work different shifts.
Yeah.
And you can swap shifts with people. So, someone wants to work better in the evening while you want to work in the morning. Okay, you can have a joint shift with them kind of thing.
I get it. They made
yeah, like,
changes.
so basically, yeah, they make the whole company better, and then the boss tries to take credit for it, and they aren't having any of it.
Okay.
So, in the film, Dolly Parton wrote the song 9 to 5 for the film.
Okay.
And there's a video that I've seen going around of Dolly Parton using her acrylic nails to kind of, like, make...
like, play drums, essentially.
Yeah, for, like, percussion.
Yeah.
So she used this technique when showing Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin her first ideas for the song.
Yeah.
So she just used that, and I just think it's such a cool thing that she does.
Yeah, it is cool. Like, Google or YouTube it, type in, like...
Dolly Parton acrylic nails, I guess.
Yeah, it'll come up. It is mad.
But yeah, the song was actually Oscar nominated, and it won 2 Grammys.
Well, yeah, it's a banger.
It's a great song.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was made for the film.
Yeah. And then later on in life, Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda have gone on to carry on working together in Grace and Frankie.
Yeah, which is a good TV show.
Yeah.
That was on our TV show list. Go watch that episode too.
I really wished that they had brought in Dolly Parton. That would have been sick.
Hey, she still might. She could still make an appearance.
They finished it.
Oh, have they?
Yeah.
Oh.
But apparently there is a sequel in the works.
A sequel?
Yeah. They're actually thinking of making another one now that all of them are, like, in their 70s and 80s.
It came out in 1980.
Yeah.
Alright.
They did originally have a sequel planned for, like, pretty much just after it was made, but the director passed away.
Okay.
So they was
Hence why I've not heard of him.
Yeah, so they was like, oh, we don't want to make another one because we want his touch on it.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, there's more talks about, like, them
it's been
actually
enough time
wanting
now.
Yeah, they're now actually thinking we could do it again, or
Yeah.
make another one, which would be really cool, especially thinking if they make it into, like, a modern idea of what it could be.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I think 9 to 5 is just such a brilliant film. I don't have there wasn't much information out there about this film because it was so long ago they weren't really keeping track on the trivia that's going on set.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, definitely if you want to watch an old film that is still funny
Yeah.
and very much female empowerment, watch 9 to 5, it's great.
Alright, my final one. Hot Fuzz. Came out 2007. We've done this whole thing out of order, really, for the Cornetto trilogy, but it's the second Cornetto trilogy film. Not that you really need to watch them in order. Again, directed by Edgar Wright, written by him and also Simon Pegg. Stars Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, but it also has Martin Freeman, Bill Nye, Bill Bailey, Timothy Dalton, Jim Broadbent, Olivia Colman, Elvis the Swan, and others. So it's about a top London cop, Nicholas Angel, who is so good he makes the rest of the team look bad, so they reassign him to a quiet town called Sanford. He's paired with Danny Butterman, who is useless, basically, played by Nick Frost. Everything seems quiet until 2 actors are found decapitated in this town. It's called an accident, but Angel isn't going to accept that, especially when more people keep turning up dead. So Angel and Danny start clashing with everyone whilst trying to uncover the truth behind the mystery of the apparent accidents.
Yeah.
So it's like a secret cult in this town, essentially, it turns out.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And it's like, it's like a murder mystery kind of film.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious. And it's like, plays on loads of different cop films and stuff like that. So Nick Frost only agreed to do the film if he could get to name his character. He was asked to watch over 20 different action films to warm up for his role. He only watched one. Bad Boys 2.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. The first draft of the script included a love interest for Nicholas named Victoria, but she was cut from the subsequent drafts, but most of her dialogue was given to Danny, often without any changes. At a Q&A, following a screening of the film in Newcastle, Edgar Wright revealed that the film featured disguised cameos by 2 Oscar winners, Cate Blanchett and Peter Jackson. Jackson appears as the Santa Claus who stabs Nick Angel through the hand during the opening montage, and Blanchett appears as Angel's ex-girlfriend, who is a crime scene officer. Yeah, it's just mad. Also, Samson the dog, who played Saxon the dog, was not allowed to become a real police dog because he was considered too friendly. I thought you'd like that one.
Yeah.
So, Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright interviewed loads of real police officers while doing research for the film, and many of the lines in the film, such as "I prefer to think my office is out on the street," came directly from those interviews. And the stylized scenes of Nick doing paperwork were inspired by the officers, noting that paperwork is a huge part of the job, but it's never depicted in cop shows and films. The visual style was also inspired by Tony Scott's films, and Robert Ebert's bigger little movie glossary was also used as a reference source. Don't know what they are.
Yeah.
After the huge success of Simon Pegg's film Shaun of the Dead,
Yeah.
they were given complete free reign to do whatever they wanted on the next film. So this film, they just could do whatever they want. Also, while doing research, they discovered that a disproportionate number of police officers were named either Nick or Andy, which led to the character names of Nicholas Angel and the 2 Andys. Both Andys being played by Bill Bailey.
Yeah. Just wanted to quickly tell you, in all the research, because I found this out while I was doing research for The World's End.
Yeah.
Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg watched, I think it was 136 police films to do research for this, as well as doing the interviews with the actual police officers. 136 police films.
Yeah.
Just to get research. That's mad.
So also, the joke where the local paper misspelled Angel's name as Angle was based on several instances where that happened to him, a guy who is who's the film's music director.
That's quite sad.
Yeah. The line, "the greater good," is never said just once. Every single time a character says it, it's repeated directly after by at least one other character. When Sergeant Angel is chasing the shoplifter, he asks Danny, "Never taken a shortcut before?" which is a line from Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
And it's also parodied in the entire Cornetto trilogy. Bill Nye filmed his scenes in one day.
Oh, God.
All of the scenes with Bill Nye in, he filmed in one day. Also, NWA is Sanford's Neighborhood Watch Alliance, which is also the name of, the seminal rap group NWA, whose most famous song is obviously "Fuck the Police." So it's directly related, right? It's just a funny, it's a clever way.
Done.
Yeah. Also, out of all of the words written on the swear box, cunt, which is the most offensive word to most people, is ironically the only word that isn't censored in any way. So all of the other words are censored out in some way, but cunt isn't.
Just because.
Yeah. And yeah, as always with all of Edgar Wright films, it's just full of really clever film references. In this case, most cop TV and films, as well as to the other Cornetto trilogy films. Yeah. And yeah, it's great buddy comedy between this really strict, serious, brilliant super cop essentially, and then this other cop who is just completely useless and only got the job because his dad's on the force and he just loves films and is a complete nerd.
Yeah.
And it's just a really clever film, the same as all of their films. So yeah, that's all I've got to say. Actually, do you have any honourable mentions?
I do, actually. We've gone on for quite a bit here, but it's fine. Wow. So I'll just quickly zoom through mine. Yeah. Dude, Where's My Car?
Okay.
Just because I remember watching that a lot with my sister, Sarah. Shout out to Sarah. The Intern with Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro.
Oh yeah, that's a good film.
Yeah. But I was like, I don't know if this is quite a buddy comedy, so that's why I left it out. Same with Bride Wars, which also has Anne Hathaway in it.
Yeah.
Because I consider it more about her and her friend fighting, technically. And it's also got a lot more rom-com feeling to it when it's
it's a chick flick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shrek 1 and 2.
Okay, I guess they count. Yeah.
And Three Men and a Baby.
Okay. Yeah, my honorable mentions again as well are like ones that I was like they either don't quite fit the the kind of definition we're going for, or I just couldn't fit them on the list because I spoke about too many already.
Yes.
So I got The Big Lebowski, In Bruges, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, Up, Knight's Tale, 50-50, which was on my rom-com list. You should watch that.
Yep.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and the sequels, Half Baked, The Bucket List, Like Father, Accepted, Step Brothers, and Seeking a Friend for the End of the World.
Jesus Christ.
There's just so many good buddy comedies. It's one of my favourite kind of style of films.
Yeah, because then you can focus on the story rather than the subplot of like, oh, are they gonna like with rom-coms? It's like, are they gonna get together? Are they not?
And you can
All
have that in a buddy comedy as well.
Yeah.
There's just so much you can do with it, and there's just so many good films made out there like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's it. We've taken up enough of your time.
Know what you should do with these films? Find a friend and watch them with them.
Hell yeah, they're good to watch.
Grab a buddy and watch some buddy comedies.
Hell yeah. And if you have any other fun facts about any of the films we've mentioned, or you want to tell us how much you love them too, please comment on any of our social medias, send an email, whatever you want, whatever you want to do.
Get in touch.
Yeah, we want to hear from you guys. If you have any ideas for future episodes you want us to do, again, get in touch at the As Yet Untitled podcast. Yeah, give us a like, a share, all the good stuff.
All that good stuff.
Follow us on Spotify and all that.
If you didn't catch it before, it's at the As Yet Untitled podcast.
Yes, at the As Yet Untitled podcast. Follow us.
Like us. Subscribe.
Give us all of your filthy internet love.
Filthy.
Or clean. Either way, up to you. The internet's just normally filthy, you know.
Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
We'll catch you in the next one in a month's time.
Bye.
Bye.